Discover the incredible truth. 5 hidden secrets to transform your life and inspire real change. Sarah rubbed her tired eyes as she flipped through her grandmother's old belongings. The dusty attic felt like a time capsule, shards of laughter and love surfacing with every crinkled paper and weathered memento. When she stumbled upon a journal, battered but resilient, she felt an inexplicable pull. The words within promised transformation, a lifeline in a stormy sea, a beacon of hope. This was more than just ink on pages, it was a spark she desperately needed. Sarah was a 34-year-old widowed mother, burdened by grief and the weight of unrelenting judgment from her neighbors. Maplewood, once vibrant with the laughter of children and the smoke of summer barbecues, now echoed with the sound of dwindling hopes, muffled by sorrow and economic despair. She felt her heart squeeze painfully as she recalled her children, Emma and Jake, who relied on her. Their innocent faces, puzzled by the disdainful whispers of the community, stung like a bitter winter wind. Every day at the diner, she plastered on a smile, serving up pancakes and coffee, hoping to drown out the gossip that wrapped around her like a noose. "Look at her, just can't get it together," they'd say, their glances piercing her spirit. She longed for a life where her children wouldn't be defined by their struggles, a life before the world saw them through a lens of pity. As Sarah read through the journal, she was drawn to 5 powerful truths: perseverance, love, community, courage, and hope. Each page ignited a yearning within her, lighting a path towards reclaiming her own identity. Inspired, she began to fill the empty spaces in her home with laughter, turning dinners into small celebrations, and bedtime stories into adventures. She wanted Emma and Jake to know they were more than their circumstances, but just as light pierced through her gloom, disaster struck. A fierce storm swept through the town, ripping roofs off homes and flooding the streets. The diner, her lifeline, lay in ruins. Sarah's heart plummeted. She reached out to neighbors for help, but their hesitation spoke volumes. Prejudices lingered like dark clouds over her overshadowed spirit. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Amid the chaos, Sarah felt a flicker of determination. She couldn't let the storm rob her of her humanity or her children's future. As neighbors gathered for recovery efforts, she stepped forward. With the strength informed by her grandmother's truths, she called for compassion. Would they listen? Would they unite against the very prejudices that had grown like weeds between them? As she looked around at the devastation, she saw not just the broken homes but broken spirits, shadows of the people she once knew. Would they find a way to rise together? Would they forgive the judgment that had kept them apart for so long? These questions hung heavy in the air like the scent of rain on parched soil, waiting for an answer as fragile as it was vital. As Sarah stood amidst the wreckage, her heart thudded in her chest, a mix of fear and hope swirling within her. The storm had left its mark, but she was ready to face the aftermath head-on. The sight of neighbors gathering to assess the damage stirred something deep within her, an aching desire for togetherness. "Hey!" Her voice cut through the murmur of disbelief. The crowd paused, eyes shifting towards her. "We've all lost something today, but we can rebuild, and we can do it together." There was an uneasy silence, as if her words hung in the air, testing the fragile ties that bound them. A few faces softened, their hard exteriors cracking just a little. But others remained skeptical, still caught in the web of past judgments. Sarah's throat tightened, yet she pressed on. "Let us share what we have," she said, thinking back to her grandmother's teachings about community. "We can set up a donation site at the park, work together to help each other rebuild. It starts with us." She saw Mrs. Henderson tighten her lips, perhaps fighting the urge to roll her eyes. But deep down, Sarah sensed something shifting, as the air sparkled with the slightest hint of possibility. A young man stepped forward, his clothes tattered and soaked from the rain, but his eyes reflected something fierce. "You're right," he said, surprising everyone. "We've been too divided for too long. I can help with the site." A murmur coursed through the crowd, a fusion of surprise and hope. Sarah felt the walls shift around her, tearing down old constructs she thought were untouchable. Hours passed as they gathered supplies, sharing tools and moments of laughter that felt as refreshing as the aftermath of the storm itself. Sarah glanced at Emma and Jake, their small faces glowing. They were playing tag among the adults, laughter breaking through the tension like sunbeams. Perhaps this was what it meant to transcend loss, to find community in adversity. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold, Sarah felt a warmth wrapping around her heart. She caught Mrs. Henderson smiling at her from across the crowd. Why had it taken a storm for them to come together? The question washed over her, bittersweet as it was crucial. "I know we've all been through a lot," Sarah addressed everyone again, her voice steady. "But let's not just rebuild our homes. Let us rebuild our community. Our bond. Together, we can inspire change for ourselves and for the children." The crowd erupted in soft applause, chatter filling the air, uncertainty melting into hope. The walls of judgment she had battled for so long were being dismantled right before her eyes. Just then, the sound of a child's cry pierced through the evening air. Sarah felt her heart lurch as she rushed towards the source. It was Jake, standing wide-eyed in front of a house that had taken the brunt of the storm. "Mom!" he called, pointing. "There's someone inside." The air thickened with tension. Sarah's pulse raced. Would she be able to face yet another challenge? Would her neighbors stand by her, this time united? As Sarah and a few neighbors marched towards the house, a nagging thought lingered in her mind. They had only just begun to overcome their past. What lay ahead would determine if they could truly rise together or if the divides would claim them once again. As they approached the house, Sarah felt a mix of anxiety and determination coursing through her veins. The cries of the child echoed in her ears, a haunting reminder of the urgency they faced. Jake ran ahead, his small frame a blur as he pointed toward the door. "Please. We need to help." The group slowed as they reached the front steps. The house stood defiant against the remnants of the storm, with broken windows and a sagging roof. It was hard to believe anyone could be inside. "Is anyone in there?" Sarah called out, her voice quaking with fear. Silence was the only reply, and the weight of the moment hung heavily around them. "Let us move the debris," said the young man who had earlier stepped forward. He was crouched down, wrapping his fingers around a fallen beam. A few others joined him, lifting it with a collective grunt. Sarah felt an exhilarating rush of hope as she grabbed an edge and pushed with all her might. Their small efforts felt monumental. "Keep going," Sarah encouraged, glancing at her neighbors. Faces she had once felt adversarial toward were now focused and determined. They were working together, fighting against their doubts, and Sarah could see the shift happening right before her eyes. As they cleared the entrance, the door creaked open slightly, and Sarah took a deep breath. The smell of damp wood and something heavy hit her. She hesitated for just a moment, but the sound of another child's muffled whimper came from within, pushing her forward. "We have to check." She stepped inside, darkness engulfing her. Shadows danced on the walls, making it hard to see. "Jake, stay close," she called, feeling for his small hand. He slipped his tiny fingers into hers, grounding her as they moved. The living room was a wreck. Furniture lay scattered, and a broken lamp hung dangerously from the ceiling. But it was a small figure huddled in the corner that drew Sarah's eye, a little girl, her face streaked with dirt and tears, clutching a worn-out teddy bear. "There you are," Sarah exclaimed, rushing to her side. "It's going to be okay. We're here to help." The little girl looked up, her big eyes filled with fear, but there was something else there too, a flicker of trust. As Sarah knelt beside her, she noticed a bruise forming on the child's arm. Her heart ached at the sight. "What's your name?" "Lily," the girl whispered. Jake squeezed Sarah's hand. "Lily, we're going to get you out of here," he said with surprising confidence, just like Sarah had taught him about being brave. The sounds of the neighbors slowly filtering in created an atmosphere of shared purpose. Each person stepping into the darkness felt the weight of responsibility, their fears momentarily pushed aside. "We got you," another neighbor said, forming a protective circle around the children. Guided by Sarah's calming voice, they helped Lily to her feet, offering words of comfort as they maneuvered through the fallen debris. "You're so strong," Sarah reassured her. "Let us get you outside, where it's safe." But questions nagged at Sarah's mind. Where was Lily's family? Outside, a flurry of activity had erupted among the helpers. Some were hauling down broken branches, others were organizing supplies that had been gathered for the community. Sarah felt a surge of determination. This community could rise, but she needed to find answers for Lily. Moments later, Sarah approached a line of anxious parents, scanning for any sign of who the little girl belonged to. "Has anyone seen Lily's family?" she asked, her voice steady despite the worry threading through her mind. But before anyone could respond, a woman appeared at the edge of the crowd, her face pale and frantic, eyes wide as she called out, "Lily." Sarah's heart stopped. The mother looked so lost and terrified. Would they all finally understand the need for togetherness? Would this moment bring clarity to their efforts? The question hung in the air, as Sarah braced for the potentially raw connection to unfold. The woman stumbled forward, breathless and wide-eyed. "Lily!" she cried again, desperation clawing at her words. Sarah's heart raced as she watched the mother move through the crowd, each step a mixture of hope and dread. Lily's eyes lit up at the sound of her mother's voice. "Mommy!" she squeaked, taking a tentative step forward. The circle of neighbors instinctively parted, allowing the reunion to unfold. Sarah felt Jake's grip tighten around her fingers, a small anchor in this tumultuous moment. As the mother reached Lily, she dropped to her knees, pulling her daughter into a fierce embrace. Tears streamed down her face as she cradled the little girl, brushing dirt and tears away with frantic hands. "I thought I lost you," she sobbed, the relief palpable in every quivering line of her body. Sarah wiped her own tears, feeling the gravity of the scene. There was a fierce bond of love right there, raw and real. It reflected the essence of what they had all been fighting for that day, the safety of their own families. "Is she hurt?" the mother asked, pulling back slightly to look at her daughter. Fear flashed across her face as she inspected Lily's arm. "Oh no, baby, what happened?" "She's okay." Sarah stepped closer, her heart swelling with compassion. "We found her inside the house. She was so brave." Just then, Jake tugged on Sarah's sleeve, his wide eyes curious yet concerned. "But what about everyone else? Did anyone else get hurt?" The question hung heavy in the air, drawing Sarah's attention away from the tender scene in front of her. This was only one story amidst a sea of chaos. "I don't know, buddy. We need to find out," she said softly, gazing back at the crowd building around them. The neighbors, once adversaries, were suddenly bonded by a shared mission. People were exchanging information, calling out for loved ones, and lending hands to anyone in need. It was beautiful and heartbreaking all at once. As Sarah turned to scan the crowd, she saw the young man from earlier. He was speaking with another group, gesturing toward a nearby house. The determination in his stance caught her. He was rallying others to check for any trapped souls. "Let us split up," he proposed. "Some of us can continue searching this area, while others can head further up the street." Sarah felt a spark ignite within her. "I'll go with you," she said, stepping toward him with renewed conviction. "Me too." Jake piped up, surprising them both. "Are you sure, buddy?" she asked, feeling both pride and worry for him. "I want to help," he said firmly, determination shining through his young features. Sarah hesitated, but she could see the passion in her son's eyes. Okay then, let us do it together. They joined the others, and as they moved deeper into the debris-strewn streets, Sarah's heart raced with a mix of anxiety and purpose. They were all in this together, a community linked by purpose, by empathy. As they advanced, the urgency intensified. The cries of distant voices echoed in the air, and with each step, Sarah felt the weight of countless stories hovering just out of reach, stories of loss, of hope, of survival. She thought of the little girl, the relieved mother, and the potential tragedy still hidden in the rubble. Then, just as they rounded a corner, a sound rang out, a faint cry, more chilling than before. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, dread creeping into her heart. The group paused, straining to listen. Could there be someone else trapped? Was there more to this disaster than they had imagined? Before anyone could respond, the cry came again, sharper, more urgent. It was a call for help that mingled with the storm's remnants, and it pushed them onward, deeper into the unknown. What awaited them on the other side? The group moved cautiously toward the sound, hearts pounding in unison. Each step felt heavier, the weight of uncertainty nearly unbearable. Sarah's mind raced. What if they found someone? What if they didn't? The cries echoed, pulling them into a desperate need to act. "Stay close," Sarah urged, glancing at Jake. His face was tense but determined, the innocence of childhood clashing with the gravity of the moment. The little boy nodded, his grip on her hand firm. As they neared the source, they found a collapsed house, its once proud facade now a crumbling heap. Dust swirled in the air, a ghostly reminder of what used to be. Sarah could hear the cries clearer now. Someone was trapped inside. Two men from the group hurried forward with shovels, ready to dig, while others secured the perimeter, directing the gathering crowd to keep a safe distance. "We need to clear the debris carefully," one of them, a tall man with a grim expression, called out. "If we push too hard, we risk harming whoever is trapped." "Is it a child?" Jake asked, worry etched across his small face. "I'm not sure, buddy," Sarah replied, kneeling down to meet his eyes. "But whoever it is, we have to help." Her voice steadied him, even as her own stomach twisted in knots. The two men began to shovel dirt and bricks away, their movements frantic yet focused. Each piece removed brought them closer, and each second felt like an eternity. Sarah could feel the energy of the crowd. Some held their breath, while others whispered prayers into the chaos. Then, the cries came again, louder and filled with pain. A woman's voice broke through, raw and pleading. "Help! Please, I can't move." The sound clawed at Sarah's heart, igniting every maternal instinct within her. The men worked faster, sweat pouring down their brows. "We're coming. Just hold on," one of them shouted back. The urgency in his voice sent ripples of fear through the crowd. "We need more help," the taller man yelled. "Everyone, lend a hand. We need to clear this faster." His voice rang with authority, galvanizing those watching. One by one, neighbors stepped forward, ready to offer whatever strength they could muster. As they dug deeper, the cries became more desperate, and Sarah squeezed Jake's hand tighter. She could see the fear in his eyes, and it mirrored her own. But she refused to let that fear take over. "We can do this," she whispered reassuringly to him, even though she felt her own heart racing. She couldn't understand what the trapped woman was experiencing, but she knew they had to hold on to hope. Finally, a voice emerged from the rubble. "It's okay. I'm okay. Please hurry." Sarah felt a rush of relief. She looked into Jake's face, seeing that glimmer of hope spark between them. "Just a little more," shouted one of the men, his hands shaking as he removed the last few bricks. With one final heave, they revealed a woman, dirt-streaked and wide-eyed but alive. Sarah gasped, covering her mouth with her hand. The crowd erupted into a chorus of relief, cheers rising like a wave, but Sarah remained focused, her heart now both heavy and buoyant. Before the woman could even fully comprehend her rescue, something flickered in her eyes, a flicker of fear, perhaps. It was a stark reminder that the danger hadn't passed. Sarah's gut twisted again, realizing that revealing one person meant the existence of others still hidden, still in danger. What about anyone else? Jake's voice broke through, innocent yet profound. Sarah turned, her heart racing. We need to find out. There could still be others, and deep within her, a nagging dread began to settle. What if they weren't prepared for what lay ahead? Would they be strong enough to face it? As she exchanged glances with Jake, both shared a realization their community was becoming something greater than any one person could contain. But what lay in wait, lurking behind the rubble, was still a mystery. What else would they discover in their determination to unearth the truth? The crowd buzzed with excitement, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of dread. They had rescued one, but how many more were out there, crying for help? Her heart raced, not just for the woman they had found, but for everyone else who may still be trapped. "Stay by me, Jake," she murmured, scanning the rubble. The air was thick with dust, but beneath it, she could sense a deeper, heavier silence, a silence that signified fear, desperation, and uncertainty. "I want to help," Jake exclaimed, eyes wide with determination. Sarah looked into his shining face. The innocence and bravery there sparked a renewed fire within her. "We will help, but we need to be careful, okay? We don't want to make things worse." Nods erupted from the men digging as they heard the new urgency in her voice. The two who had initially jumped in were still pushing against the weight of the remains, but now more people stepped forward. They were neighbors, friends, and complete strangers, every one of them ready to risk their own safety to save whoever might still be trapped. It was a beautiful, painful testament to community. "Listen up," the tall man called again. "We need a larger cordon around the rubble. If there's more weight above them, we've got to find a safer way to move it." There was a ripple of agreement from the group, and they sprang into action, creating a wider circle. With renewed hope, Sarah joined the fray. She picked up a shovel and began moving debris. Each brick lifted felt like a small victory. She glanced at Jake, who imitated her movements, his small hands clumsy but earnest. They were in it together, just like everyone else. Every now and then, a muffled sound would echo from the rubble, and every sound made the collective breaths hitch. It felt like a long game of charades where every lost moment threatened to turn hope into despair. But they pushed on. "Over here!" shouted one of the men, pointing to what looked like a possible opening. Sarah froze. "Is that?" The crowd shifted closer as they strained to hear. Anxiety coursed through them, thick and full. "Stand back!" another man commanded, shifting to the front. "Careful now, we'll dig around it." Moments passed like hours as they cleared the area in front of what they hoped was another survivor. "Help!" came a faint voice, barely audible over the sound of shifting rubble and anxious murmurs. Sarah's heart leaped. Another one. They could feel it, the rising tide of adrenaline and hope. "Can you reach them?" someone shouted. "I think so," the first man replied, his hands trembling with urgency. As they dug deeper, Sarah felt a wave of fear crash over her. It was one thing to extract someone from danger, it was another to take on the stress of what they might find. What if it was a child? The men group labored fast, and finally, they unearthed a small figure. The crowd gasped collectively, Sarah's breath hitching in her throat. It was a boy, around Jake's age, his face dirt-streaked and his eyes wide with terror. "Hang on, buddy!" shouted the man closest to him, reaching out, but as he drew the boy from the rubble, Sarah noticed something: a cut on his forehead, a faint bruise on his wrist. The boy was scared, bewildered, yet he was alive. Relief washed over her like a cleansing wave, but it was quickly replaced with urgency again. "What if there are more?" she whispered to herself, feeling that all too familiar nagging dread settle back in. Jake tugged at her sleeve, his eyes shining with the mixture of hope and fear. "Sarah, what if we need to dig deeper? What if there are more kids down there?" A chill passed through her. She realized they had opened a door into the unknown. The truth about this tragedy was becoming clearer, but now it beckoned them to go further, to seek out more lives hidden beneath the rubble. Could they handle what awaited them? "Let us keep going," Sarah replied, her own voice laced with both determination and fear. As they prepared to launch into another push, the weight of the moment settled over them again. What they faced next could change everything. What other truths were buried within? And as they lifted another brick, anticipation gripped her heart tightly. What awaited them might be their biggest challenge yet. Would they be brave enough to face it? The ground felt colder as they resumed digging, the thrill of hope mingling with the fear of what they might find. Sarah's knuckles grazed the rough surface of a brick, her mind racing with the image of more frightened faces emerging from the ruins. She could sense the crowd's hesitant anticipation, a collective breath held tight in their chests as every heartbeat echoed the urgency of the moment. "Careful," she whispered, almost to herself. The air around them vibrated with the cries and murmurs of the crowd, a symphony of desperation and determination. Jake moved beside her, his small hands grasping a shovel that barely matched his size. "What if we find more kids?" he asked, his voice barely louder than a whisper, yet laden with sincerity. "We will, Jake. We just have to keep focused." The words felt like a promise, but deep down, she was terrified of the answer their digging might yield. With renewed vigor, they dug deeper, the dust swirling like ghosts around them. Each handful of debris uncovered the past, and Sarah could almost feel the weight of untold stories pressing down on them. Every new sound heightened the tension: a whimper, a cough, perhaps even another cry. "Over here!" shouted the man with the weathered hands and a determined gaze. "I think there's a small space." Determination surged through the crowd, and they surged forward, hearts racing. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as they made way for the excitement of possibility. "Are you okay?" she called into the darkness, her voice trembling as she brushed another layer of dirt away. The man's shovel scraped against something hard, and the sound echoed in the silence. "Yes. Please help," came a shaky but clear voice, thicker with fear than the boy's had been. The crowd erupted with frantic energy, the realization most had been waiting for igniting their efforts. There was another survivor. "Be steady," someone shouted amidst the scramble. "We can't risk more collapse." With hands working in unison, they cleared the debris faster, adrenaline fueling their movements. Sarah could feel the warmth of hope washing over her, but it was quickly brought down again by the images of what might lie ahead. What if this time it was a child? What if their rescue efforts only brought more pain? Finally, just after what felt like an eternity, they uncovered the opening sufficiently. A figure emerged, a girl, no older than Jake, eyes wide, tears making a path down her dirty cheeks. "Hang on. Almost there." The excitement in the air made Sarah's heart race for her child and this girl, both caught in a moment of uncertainty and fear. She caught Jake's eye, and his face mirrored her own feelings, relief and anxiety blended together. As they drew the girl from the rubble, her small frame trembling and broken yet still alive, Sarah crumbled inside. "You're safe now," she breathed, but inside she felt another urgency. The girl might have lost something far heavier, a part of her spirit buried deep in the rubble. "Is there anyone else?" Sarah asked, kneeling down to meet the girl's gaze, searching for comfort. I don't know," the girl stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. They were there, not too far." She pointed toward the remnants of a wall that seemed like it might be hiding much more than just brick and stone. Fear gripped Sarah's heart. They had to dig deeper once more, but would the next rescue come with even harsher truths? Would they be able to find those who were truly lost beneath the chaos? As the crowd readjusted their focus, Sarah's thoughts raced. The truth hung heavy on her lips. They might uncover what they both dreaded and hoped for. They were stepping into the unknown once again. "Let us go," she whispered fiercely, turning back to the rubble. But as they prepared to dig deeper, her heart pounded with uncertainty. What awaited them beneath the surface? Would it be another life turned to light or something darker? With a deep breath, Sarah steadied herself. The promise of another life, or the haunting shadow of what they might uncover, swirled in her mind. Around her, the crowd seemed to fuse with her anxiety, the air thick with apprehension and fervor. She glanced at Jake, still clutching his small shovel, his eyes bright with a glimmer of hope mixed with unrelenting fear. "Let us stick together," she urged, her voice cutting through the tension as she grabbed her own shovel. Each thrust into the ground became more than just an act of rescue. It was a fight against despair, a declaration that they would not let fear defeat them. Jake mimicked her movements, his determination contagious. "What if I'm digging for my new friend?" he asked aloud, his innocence both heartwarming and heart-wrenching. The thought of young friendships formed under such dire circumstances made Sarah's heart swell. "Then let us find her," Sarah replied, a fierce edge to her tone. She would do whatever it took not just to bring back another child but to help heal the one who had already escaped the grasp of darkness. As they applied themselves to their task, the crowd joined in, an unyielding sea of hands and shovels digging with purpose. Each clump of dirt moved aside revealed remnants of broken lives, and Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that each brick they unearthed was part of something larger, families torn apart, laughter silenced, futures interrupted. "Careful! Watch your footing!" A voice called, but the urgency only heightened their efforts. Who else was buried beneath the weight of the world? Then, just as doubt started to creep back in, a muffled sound reached Sarah's ears, a soft whimper. It was faint but unmistakable. Her heart raced. "Did you hear that?" she asked, leaning closer to Jake. "I did." He looked at her, eyes wide, and she could see hope igniting in him once more. The crowd was still, as if holding its breath, a tension hanging thick and heavy. "Over here." Sarah pointed towards the direction of the sound, her heart pounding against her chest as they quickly removed the rubble that had kept silent secrets hidden. "Come on, we're almost there," Sarah urged as they moved faster, shaking loose debris and revealing a deeper space within. The air carried a heavy essence of dust and despair, but behind it, she found flickers of resilience. With one final push, a small hand broke through the remnants, reaching out toward the light. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "Don't worry, we've got you," she shouted, her voice lifting over the crowd's mounting excitement. The crowd surged forward, but Sarah was careful, her heart racing now for a different reason. This time, she wouldn't let overzealousness lead to another collapse. "Is anyone else there?" she called, keeping her eyes locked on the hand reaching for freedom. "Please. Help," came the voice from beneath, a shrill cry of urgency. "Just a little more," Sarah whispered, her voice steady. "For that child, for everyone." They moved the last few bricks aside, and as the figure came into view, Sarah felt like she might burst from the weight of it all. A small boy, no more than 5, looked back at her with wide, frightened eyes, shaking beneath the dirt and rubble. Sarah reached for him, the world around her fading as their eyes locked. But just as she was about to pull him free, he whispered through trembling lips, "My sister is still in there, please." A chill ran through Sarah. One more life to uncover. One more soul that would demand the courage she was not sure they had left. "Jake. Hold on tight," she urged, feeling the enormity of what lay ahead crashing down on her. Hope hung delicately in the balance, and the next moments would test everything they had fought for. What awaited them beneath the surface could change everything again. Would they muster the strength for yet another rescue? With a deep breath, Sarah steeled herself for what lay ahead. The small boy's eyes were pools of fear, and the echo of his words rang in her ears. His sister was still trapped somewhere beneath the debris. "Jake, we have to find her," Sarah said, her voice resolute. She gripped the boy's small hand in hers, feeling his tiny fingers tighten with fear. "What's your name?" she asked gently. "Ben," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Ben, we're going to get you and your sister out, but I need you to stay strong for me, okay?" He nodded, and Sarah felt a surge of responsibility. The warmth from his hand ignited something deep within her, a mix of determination and urgency. She turned to the crowd, rallying their spirits. "We can't stop now. Ben's sister is down there, and we need all hands on deck. The crowd responded, a wave of resolve flowing back to her. Shovels dug deeper and faster, and the cries of encouragement filled the air. "Stay with me, Ben," Sarah said, keeping her focus on the task. As they cleared away more rubble, Sarah's mind raced. How deep could she possibly be? The dirt felt heavier now, mixing with the emotions swelling inside her. Every shovelful pulled away felt like a plea, a promise to put the pieces back together for this broken family. Could she be trapped in a different place? Jake asked, sweat glistening on his brow as he worked tirelessly beside her. "I don't know," Sarah replied, a lump forming in her throat. "But we have to assume she's close. We just need to stay hopeful." Ben slipped his hand from Sarah's grasp when more shovels broke apart the ground ahead. His small voice trembled, "Is my sister going to be okay?" "We're doing everything we can," she assured, fighting against the wave of doubts whisking through her head. Even if they found her, could they get her out? Would they have enough strength to handle two fragile lives? "Help! Help me!" That chilling scream echoed from under them, sending a shiver down Sarah's spine. It was weak but unmistakable. The crowd froze momentarily, the sound wrapping around them like a shroud of dread. "Did you hear that?" Jake's eyes widened. "Ben, stay close," Sarah instructed, her heart racing. "We're going to find her. We need to dig more here. She's close." They focused their efforts, creating a rhythm, pushing dirt aside, shifting stones. Each second felt like a lifetime, the echo of their own breaths filling the silence. Every scrape of metal against rock felt heavy with a sense of urgency. Just then, Sarah's shovel struck something solid. "This feels different," she shouted, heart racing. She set down the shovel and began to dig with her hands, fear and hope blending into a palpable force. "Help me. We're getting you out." As the dirt fell away, a small corner of fabric appeared, just the hint of a dress, a lifeline in a sea of fear. The crowd collectively inhaled, tension crackling in the air. "Stay with us," Sarah shouted, her voice breaking through the dirt-laden despair. She could feel the presence of something miraculous, yet terrifying. With each tug, her breath became shallower, and the burden of hope pressed down hard on her chest. "Ben," she called. "I need you to help us. Grab my hand and pull." He scrambled over, finding his footing between the chaos. Sarah locked eyes with him, and she saw a flicker of belief ignite there. Together, they reached for the piece of clothing, digging closer and closer to the source of the desperate cries. "Hold on," Sarah shouted. "We're almost there." But even as they worked, a new question loomed in the back of her mind. Was there still hope beneath all the buried sorrow? Could they uncover both children? With every handful of dirt they cast aside, the weight of it all pressed tighter against her heart. As the last bit of rubble shifted, Sarah could feel destiny hanging in the balance. What if the little girl was already gone? A wave of uncertainty washed over her, and she could hardly breathe. Just as she was about to call for more help, a deeper voice echoed from within the darkness. "Help me please." Who was it? And would they be ready for the truth that lay buried beneath? As Sarah drew in a sharp breath, the weight of desperation hung heavy in the air. The voice was faint yet clear. Someone was still in there, waiting for a glimmer of hope. "Keep digging," Sarah shouted, feeling adrenaline course through her veins. Each member of the crowd worked with renewed intensity, pushing aside everything that separated them from the child's voice. She locked eyes with Jake, his small stature unwavering as he wore a determined expression. "I won't let anyone else be forgotten," Sarah breathed, feeling the quiet strength that had grown within her take hold. This battle was more than a fight for survival, it was a push towards community, love, and faith. As the last of the rubble gave way, the soft outline of a small body came into view. With a flick of her wrist, Sarah unburied the child's rigid arms, stiff but warm. The crowd gasped collectively, and for that fleeting moment, time seemed to stop. "Hang on, I'm coming." Sarah's heart raced as she helped to ease the little girl out from under the debris. She was covered in dust, eyes wide with terror but alive. "We've got you," Sarah whispered, tone gentle yet fierce, pulling the girl into her arms. The crowd erupted in a wave of joy, cheers rising as relief washed over them. Sarah held the girl tightly, and as she did, she felt the warmth of community surrounding them. People emerged from the crowd, embracing one another, some with tears streaming down their faces, even those who once stood distant. "This is Lily's sister." Ben cried out, confusion and excitement mixing in his voice, pointing to the girl in Sarah's arms. Thank you," the younger girl stammered, her breath shaky. Sarah cupped her face, staring into her eyes filled with gratitude and bewilderment. "What is your name?" Sarah asked softly. "Emily," the girl whispered, biting back tears. "We will keep you safe, I promise." Just then, Emily's eyes darted toward the wreckage. They said she started, but words faltered at the edges of disbelief. I thought I was losing them all." In that moment, the gravity of the situation hit them like a bolt of lightning. Sarah's heart tightened. She was reminded of her own struggles with loss and loneliness. The whispers of judgment still echoed in her ears. "You're not alone now," Jake piped in, belief radiating from him like a beacon. "We're family here." Around her, Sarah could see the community not just transformed but rekindled. They stood united, realizing how thin the boundaries of grief had become, how they all carried pieces of each other's sorrow and hope within them. As they regrouped, faces she once limited by disdain transformed into allies, neighbors rallying for a common cause. They dug deep into their hearts that day and uncovered more than just lives. They unearthed a shared experience that bolstered their dignity, one that would thrumming retail on Maplewood's heart for years to come. Together they pulled Emily and Lily from the remnants of despair, igniting not just their own stories, but restoring hope into the lives of those who had once judged Sarah. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of new possibility, laughter rang out in the space shared by these families now joined together by resilience and love. Children played in the background, shadows dancing, while Sarah felt a surge of joy mixing with sorrow. She took a deep breath and looked toward the crowd. "Let us remember this day," she stated, her voice steady, "not just for the struggle but for how we fought together, loved together, and rebuilt together. This bond can last." They all nodded, smiles breaking through the tears. Sarah knew Maplewood would rise. Together, as one, they had ignited a spark sparking change, inspiring hope. "And next time it rains," she added with a laugh, "let us try building an ark." The crowd erupted in laughter, the warmth of community embracing them like a sunny afternoon. The whispers of judgment were all but a memory, replaced instead by connections forged in shared struggle, where kindness outshone sorrow. In that moment, they had all transformed. Now is the moment to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it really matters. Tell me your feelings about this ending in the comments. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need a dose of inspiration. Don't wait not even one more second to spread this incredible transformation.